So I love indie roguelikes. They're my favorite kinds of games. And once in a while, when you find a real gem, I bring it to the other two and we stream it on Twitch. And one of them that we absolutely adored, I don't know how to say it. Do you know how to say it?
SNKRX.
It's a terrible name, but it's an amazing game. It's also extremely difficult. So what did we do?
We built a balance board.
2-button controls opens up a lot of options for some do-it-yourself action.
My abs are sore.
We do not have a lot of core strength.
So if you want to build this, it's actually pretty easy. It's based around the Teensy 3.1. If you buy one of these new, it's a Teensy 3.2. These are fun to just have in your junk drawer for things. You can do everything from emulate a SCSI controller for old computers, like vintage computers, to building something that emulates a keyboard. So even though SNKRX also has its source on GitHub, we didn't have to modify it. We just made a keyboard.
We did run into some interesting things about like how long the key presses have to be held down. Turns out you can't just pulse the keys. The game doesn't like that. You have to hold them down. So it was interesting, but it was pretty easy for how much fun it was.
Yeah, there's a built-in debouncing library, so we just hauled that in to emulate a keyboard and we're good to go. You can do everything through the Arduino Sketchpad, and this might actually be a good project for like, first or second year computer science students.
Or someone that wants rock hard abs.
So we're having a lot of fun with this, playing SNKRX, and if you want to do this, all of the stuff is posted on the Level 1 forums and GitHub. So you can download this. It's literally like 6 lines of code because that's all there really is. First up, we need a balance board. We need some pretty strong wood to stand on, but also to rock back and forth. So treated lumber. Our table saw the blade wasn't quite tall enough to cut it. So this is definitely the most dangerous part where you might lose a finger.
And we also did some light sanding, but if you wanted to be serious about this or put it on a floor that you cared about, I would do much more sanding. Also, we're only rocking on the one axis. Most balance boards, or some balance boards, are just a nub in the middle. You have to keep it. We're only worried about A and D, 2 buttons.
Well, I'm pretty sure that our audience is probably not coordinated because I have problems. But we had it set up in the conference room where you could grab the table, and that was still pretty challenging. I was surprised.
Yeah, if you get between some bookshelves or something, you could go easy mode.
We used mercury switches also, which might be a little difficult to get because mercury? I wouldn't recommend mercury switches because what happens is when you hit the edge, the mercury likes to bounce around in there. It makes the game a little more interesting, but makes it also really hard to get past like level 4.
I think we thought maybe proximity would be the way to go because it's important to have a perfect dead spot in the middle.
Yeah.
And proximity is probably a much more accurate way to get that. But the mercury does work.
Yeah. With the mercury switches, they're just open or closed. The Teensy makes the programming easy. You just set it to use internal pull-up resistors. We didn't even need pull-up resistors. So I soldered an old ribbon cable wire to the actual mercury switches, and then I used input, I think 20 and 21 on the Teensy with the internal pull-up. So when the mercury is closed, when it's tilted far enough, there you go. And because we use poster putty, we can change the angle at which the mercury goes in. Pro tip. Yeah.
You need your mercury switches to have a dead space when you lift the board up because you need to program without A's and D's being fed directly in.
The way you can do that is to mount your mercury switches at 45-degree angles so that when it's standing up, they're both untriggered. But when it's on the ground, it's whatever angle you've programmed in the putty.
And also, I would recommend, if you are the fitness level that we are, which is low, give yourself a very generous middle dead spot.
Yes.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
The real challenge here is going straight.
Yeah. How do you, on the scale of 1 to those hacky sack boards that people make for tailgating, I think this is better.
Well, it gives you some feedback. It's more fun, I guess.
All right, well, this has been a fun level 1 hacking project. We did this in an afternoon. You could totally do this in an afternoon. There's not really a lot to it. So, happy hacking.